From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this middle of the week, Wednesday, September 13th, 2017's edition. We are drying out and still trying to get a handle statewide the damage that's been done by Irma, and she really was one nasty storm, that's for sure. Adjectives such as B-I-T-C, H, people have been calling her, and man, she made a menace all over the country. Ridiculous damage. Death toll continues to rise throughout the state and the Caribbean. Massive relief efforts still underway. Horrendous scenes out of Key West, Florida, and we heard of a nursing home this morning, unfortunately, where five elderly people dead in a nursing home because of lack of electricity, air conditioning. Didn't have it. Saw several elderly folks being wheeled out of the nursing home there right outside of Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Very sad situation. But that's the thing, we don't know how many others are in that similar situation. It seems like every day we're learning of somebody else that unfortunately lost their life, and how that happened to the nursing home, why there wasn't a generator or generators rushed to that facility to be able to help these vulnerable people. I have no idea why they weren't removed from that facility in the first place. For the life of me, just a lot of answers, folks, a lot of answers, and it just frustrates me to see those pictures. Very saddened. I'm sure the family's devastated, very heavy-hearted because of that. But authorities are still predicting millions of residents of Hurricane Irma ravaged Florida still are going to have to wait weeks for restoration for their electricity. A reflection of the complex task which involves the repairing of the grid, according to the New York Times today, an article that I read today. According to the Times, they said utilities usually restore power to hospitals and communication networks first before moving to major populated centers. But whether the damaged utilities have to have crews inspect, they have to see the damage from the air, and what to do first on which days. It's a lot of work. And even after that, restoration is not just always replacing wires and poles. The Times noted floods can cause damage to electrical substations that link transmission lines to local distribution lines and need to be identified and isolated before power starts flowing again. You might have an area where most houses are okay. Mark Gagington, Vice President of Distribution and Energy Utilization at Electric Power Research Institute, told the Times, but crews still need to check all the buildings and disconnect the ones with damage before they can restore service. In the future, new technology could help speed the restoration process, the Times reported. Well, that's great. How about now? If we could get the damage assessment process down from several days to a day, that would be a big step forward. But with Hurricane Irma, a storm this big, when you have this much damage, you can't rely exclusively on sensors. In the end, it's still a lot of grunt work. And man, you can see here in Tampa, utility trucks and power trucks on the highways heading to Key West and different parts of Florida, Jacksonville, and you name it. Statewide, it's really just a crazy scene, and millions, still without power. Could be weeks for some people to be able to have some electricity, man, in their house. And here's the thing: in Florida, it's not just a inconvenience. It's you don't want your drywall to sweat. You don't want your drywall to start molding. I mean, it gets hot. And if you don't have portable AC units, I mean, you're going to have to do everything you can to try to keep your house going. Funny things start happening, to these houses. And just for a very short time, it's an investment. And it's got people on edge. I got to bring this up again because I did this on my first hour. So if you're just new joining us here on For the People, I mentioned that there was a silver alert, but two of them actually, for two folks in Sarasota County who evacuated ahead of Irma, Millen and Lucille Usick, who are husband and wife. So it's basically two silver alerts, but it's for a couple. Millen and Lucille Usick, Yezic. They were last seen, and apparently on a surveillance video, around 7:30 at a gas station near Interstate 75 in Ocala. So listen up, folks, in Ocala, if you remember this. Some people's memory is unbelievable. 7:30 p.m. on Saturday at a gas station near Interstate 75 in Ocala. They were headed to Pennsylvania during the evacuations. Deputies said that they have not returned to their Venice home on Golf Club Lane. Neither have cell phones, and both suffer from varying degrees of dementia. That's the problem there. They are traveling in a vehicle described as a 2004 beige Mercury Grand Marquis with a license plate GES L71. GES L71. So if you remember seeing this couple, or you're on the highway and you're traveling, you're listening to this broadcast, or you've been in the Ocala area, they were headed to Pennsylvania, and it just nobody knows where these people are. Lana is described as 5'8" tall, weighs 180 pounds, and Lucille is described as 5'4" tall and weighs 175 pounds. So if you have any information, call the state police, wherever you are, and just let them know here in Florida that there's a silver alert. And that tag number again is GES L71. I like when these amber alerts and silver alerts go out because it could save a life. And if your cell phone has the alert, and if you've never heard an alert on your phone, then you probably have it deactivated, and maybe you didn't do it. Maybe they just shut it off at the factory, but you can go into your settings or have somebody go into the settings and get those amber alerts, and it could help you, and pay attention to them, because a lot of you are on the road. A lot of you truck drivers that listen to this broadcast, or just your four-wheeler. It's what those truck drivers call your four-wheeler, but you're observant. You see this stuff. Some of you make a living. You're driving a van, or you're driving Uber, or whatever you do. But pay attention. It could be a real hero, a lifesaver, and especially for this couple that's got dementia. And they both have it to varying degrees. To varying degrees, we don't know, and they don't have cell phones. And that drives me crazy, because everybody can have a cell phone. Everybody should, but they don't. Apparently, that's what they said. They didn't carry cell phones. I mean, geez, that in itself could save your life, 911, but they may not think there's anything wrong. You got dementia, or maybe not be thinking about things. My only fear, and I hate this that this happens, but elderly people are taken advantage of all the time. You're just not as, you're more trusting, and you get people that prey on you. And I just hope that they're okay. So if we learn of any information on this couple out of Sarasota was heading to Pennsylvania to get out of Irma's wake, hopefully they'll show up somewhere, and we'll have a nice recap of the story, that they're okay and they're back in their house safe and sound without a scratch, and that would be good news. Now, this is not good news, and this is terrible. You heard about price gouging and all the crap going on with people raising prices. People's anxieties with just trying to get their families out of Dodge, or just getting out because their city, their town had evacuation notices. Well, this happened in Jacksonville. It's a true story. A Pizza Hut manager in Jacksonville is threatening his employees. He's going to discipline them, who were going to miss shifts by evacuating too early for Hurricane Irma or returning too late after the storm. This is all over the media. First was reported on CNN. He says, this is the manager. This is what he said. You cannot evacuate Friday for a Tuesday storm event. The manager wrote in a notice for workers, failure to show for these shifts, regardless of reason, will be considered a no-call/no-show. Documentation will be issued. As the manager emphasized, the workers have a responsibility and commitment to the community, and employees who needed to evacuate would receive only a 24-hour grace period before the storm, and then would be required to return to the city within 72 hours of an evacuation. Now, Pizza Hut, to their credit, issued a statement, and we're going to just read it here. We got it? Okay, here it is. We absolutely do not have a policy that dictates when team members can leave or return from a disaster. And the manager who posted this letter did not follow company guidelines. We can also confirm that the local franchise operator has addressed this situation with the manager involved. The statement also stressed, we are uncompromising in our commitment to the safety and well-being of our team members. All locations in the path of Irma are closed and will remain closed until local authorities deem the area safe. Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry began ordering a mandatory evacuation for certain areas of the city Friday. So all employees were trying to do was get out of there, that they were threatened for their jobs. Unbelievable. NBC News described Jacksonville during the storm as being swallowed by water. And this manager in Jacksonville threatened to discipline his employees who missed shifts by evacuating. You know, I'm thinking, this is a pizza job. It's pizza. Who cares? I'm out of here. I think apparently a lot of the employees said that they didn't care. They just left. We're providing a service to the community, and everybody's waterlogged, but we got to make the pizzas. Terrible and embarrassing. They didn't fire the manager. They just rebuked the manager, but didn't fire the manager. And, you know, that might be a very important job to somebody. I worked for a pizza company, you know, as a kid for a very short time. Man, that's hard work. Restaurant work, that's hard work. I worked at an IHOP as well. And, man, bussing tables and never worked harder. I mean, you bust it, man. But I learned when I bust those tables to do a really good job. And one of the things that I remember back, and I was like 17, 18, that if you work there, you got to make sure, because, you know, it's the International House of Pancakes, okay, IHOP. You got to make sure that the table is clean, devoid of syrup. So I did an extra good job making sure there was no syrup either on the seat, anything stuck, you know, eggs or pancakes or whatever on the table or the chair. And the waitresses would take really good care of me. And so I learned early. So I'd walk out of there with a nice wad of cash back in the 80s. Yeah, I was smart. So if you're bussing tables, come on, take care of those waitresses. They got a tough job too. But I just make sure that they were taken care of. They had what they needed. It was a short stint, but, you know, I'm proud of the work. And I admire people that dedicate themselves to service. There's some people that actually like serving. They like working in restaurants. That's their deal. And they actually make a career out of it, and they do well. But you got to be you got to love people. You got to be a people pleaser. Yeah, you got to like people. That's for sure. If you don't, that's probably not that's not a good job for you. Because you got to be right there in the public eye. And cleanliness, yeah, very, very important. I remember the manager, people come in and their uniform was dingy, didn't wash, still got pancake batter left over. He'd send them home.